Thank you, Senator Scott. Mr. Velez-Green, I would just say the Congress was not consulted about this. I think I can say with certainty about that. Senator Kaine, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and congratulations to the witnesses for your nominations. Mr. Velez-Green, I'm going to ask some questions that I asked of a witness earlier in the week, just trying to find out about where decisions are being made. I'm not going to ask you about the content of discussions, but rather your involvement in your current capacity in such discussions. Have you been involved in discussions about military strikes on boats in the Caribbean and Pacific?
Senator, if I recalled the line of questioning on Tuesday, I think where it evolved was to use my involvement in these one way or the other to identify what's being planned or not. What I can say is I'm involved in a wide range of discussions related to a wide range of contingency planning. To be more specific, I think would be inappropriate in this setting.
And why is it inappropriate for you to tell me whether you were involved in such discussions? I'm not asking you about the content of the discussions.
Senator, for the simple reason that some planning is sensitive, and I want to preserve the Secretary and the President's decision space on that.
Have you been involved in discussions about the legal rationale for the strikes I referenced?
Senator, I would defer to the Office of General Counsel. I know they are working that very hard, and I do believe, I've at least heard in recent conversations this week with members that there's been additional information provided, but on the specifics of that, I would have to defer to OGC.
Have you been involved in the composition of the list of designated terrorist organizations that the President is using to direct the strikes?
No, Senator.
Have you been involved in the discussion about particular strikes and whether there is evidence to justify a particular strike in a particular instance?
Again, Senator, speaking to my personal involvement in operations one way or the other at that level of detail, especially given the sensitivities, I think would be inappropriate in this setting.
Have you been involved in discussions on a policy basis, not on a particular strike instance, but on a policy basis about when we should interdict versus when we should strike?
Senator, what I will say is that from a policy standpoint, we strongly support the President's intent. And just as a general staffing matter, both in my current capacity and certainly if confirmed, these are the kinds of questions that I would commit to working through in very close coordination with the Office of General Counsel and with sensitivity to ensuring that they are lawful, they're also executable, and that they account for readiness considerations across theaters as others.
The reason I ask about that one, we've been given no information, and I have read the legal opinion. We've been given no information about policy decisions about when to strike versus when to interdict. And so that's really what I'm asking. Have you been involved in discussions about that topic? I'm not asking you the content of the discussions.
Senator, I understand. I would just, the phrase policy decisions, I want to clarify. Policy is not a decision-making organization. We advise those decisions held up at the Secretary or above level. It is our job simply to inform.
Let's just call it a topic then. Have you been involved in discussions on the topic of whether we should strike or whether we should interdict?
Again, Senator, with sensitivity to this particular issue at this particular time, I don't think this would be an appropriate setting for me to discuss my.
Have you been involved in any discussion about a potential land invasion of Venezuela?
Senator, again, it would not be appropriate for me to comment on my involvement in any particular contingency plan.
Have you been involved in any discussion about the use of U.S. military within or against Nigeria?
Senator, again, I'm sorry, it would not be appropriate for me to comment on my particular involvement.
Okay, well, let me just point out that I asked you about 8 questions, and the answer to one of the questions was no, I've not been involved. You said you had not been involved in a discussion about the composition of the list of designated terrorist organizations. And on all of the other ones, you did not say no. You instead said it wouldn't be an appropriate topic to get into in this hearing. And so I'm taking that as a yes on all the others. Since you were willing to say no in the instance where you hadn't been involved in discussions, the fact that you could not give me a no on the other questions suggests that the answer to those questions is yes. And that is very, very troubling. It's troubling to me that discussions are going on and decisions are being made about war without reading Congress into it. Just yesterday in the Supreme Court, Justice Gorsuch asked the Solicitor General of the United States about whether the Congress could delegate war powers to the President. And the President's own attorney, his Solicitor General, said no, that would be an abdication, not a delegation. These are powers for Congress. and the unwillingness, or to this day, inability of the Pentagon to answer basic questions. Mr. Chair, I'll just say, I had a chance to review the legal rationale the other day, and it's classified, so I'm not going to go into it, but a Republican member, was looking at it right before me and had a full panoply of DOD and DOJ officials in the room to answer that member's questions. They had all exited the room when I was there. So there were people there to watch me read the document, but they said they could not answer any questions that I had about the document. So I remain very, very concerned, and it's kind of a timely question. We're going to have a vote on a war powers resolution about no war in Venezuela without a vote of Congress later today, and the answers of this witness suggest it's a very timely and important matter that we'd be taking up now. So thank you, Mr. Chair. I yield back.